Native speakers are hard to understand, and that's why I've created this ultimate lesson for you to help you learn to better understand native speakers with some videos that focus on motivation and the power of small habits. So in this lesson, you're going to, of course, improve your listening skills to better understand native speakers, but also learn some great lessons if you're a business owner or entrepreneur. Let's go. Hi, I'm your English coach, Christina, and welcome to Business English with Christina, where you will become better at English and better at business. So, if you're working in your business every day, how do you stay motivated to do the work necessary to grow your business? Or how do you stay motivated for any kind of big project, maybe like learning English? Well, in this lesson, you're going to better understand native speakers. I'm going to help you to understand this video, but you'll also get a lot of great tips on how to stay motivated. For example, by giving yourself some little rewards. But more details, let's just watch that video lesson. Today, we're going to watch a great TED Talk together about how to motivate yourself to change your behavior. I don't know, maybe there's something right now that you would like to change about your behavior. Like maybe you want to get out of bed earlier in the morning and go do some exercise, or learning English, or, maybe like me, trying to eat less sugar. But it's not always easy to change those habits, and so we've got to find ways to do that. And this video starts with what not to do if you want to motivate yourself. And I really laughed about that part where Sharrett is talking about what to tell yourself when you open the fridge for a little snack.
Let's say you're trying to stop yourself from snacking. What do you tell yourself? Well, most people's inner monologue will say, beware, you'll be fat.
Or, maybe you make threats to maybe scare yourself or to scare the people around you. Have you ever heard or maybe even said anything like this?
And if this was your kid, you would probably tell him that smoking kills, and by the way, he's in big, big trouble.
Okay, so now you know what not to do to motivate yourself. Because it turns out that we're actually very resistant to warnings. We don't like hearing bad things. We don't listen to bad news about things that might happen to us in the future. Honestly, too much bad news, it leads to inaction, not doing anything. Just think about, the past few years with the coronavirus and COVID. It's so much bad news that you just feel like you can't do anything. Now, according to Sharrett, we actually have the ability to learn more from positive news. Sounds kind of obvious, right? But it means that positive information can actually motivate us to change how we feel and what we do. In fact, maybe that's really all we listen to.
But what you can see here is that it doesn't matter what age you are. You can be 20, 30, 40, 50, or 60. Everyone takes in information they want to hear more than information that they don't. And so we end up with a view like this of ourselves.
And, I have to admit, I find it more motivating to focus on the positive things. You've probably noticed in the videos, we're very positive about learning English. I'm quite optimistic, I think, in my everyday life. But at the same time, we don't want to only focus on the good things. We need a balance. And Sharrett talks about 3 principles that really work to help us stay motivated. The first one is social incentive. Now, what does that mean? Basically, it's, when you know that other people are watching you and watching what you're doing, like my cat back here, I don't know, is not watching what I'm doing. Anyway, so people are watching to see if you're going to reach your goals, or maybe you're comparing yourself with others who are doing the same thing as you. Now, the second principle, I don't think you'll be very surprised at this one, but it's immediate rewards. I mean, you and I both know that if you want to reach some big goal like learning English, running a marathon, eating so much sugar, that is quite a long, hard process. But, the future is uncertain. So even like smart, intelligent people who are good at managing themselves and their time, we also need those immediate rewards. It's easier to change your behavior if you can get some sort of like immediate present happiness rather than like happiness 2 years later.
But what will happen if you reward people now for doing actions that are good for them in the future? So studies show that giving people immediate rewards makes them more likely to quit smoking, more likely to start exercising, and this effect lasts for at least 6 months.
So what's the final principle in staying motivated to make those big changes in your life? Progress monitoring. Basically, that means keeping track of your progress, noticing the progress, noticing the improvements that you're making, or just the steps that you're doing to move you closer to that goal. Like, for example, maybe you have like a checklist of the things that you want to do. And every time you do it, you check that off. And that is such a satisfying feeling of just checking something off your list. Or, maybe in your calendar, whenever you do something in English, anything, you just put it in your calendar or write it in a notebook and put a little smiley face next to it. That way you see over time, you can go back and look and see how much you did or how much progress you made. And again, all of that helps you to have that sense of control over your life, not like everything's too busy and you never have time to do English and you really want to improve, but it's just so hard. No, we're going to eliminate all of that so that you stay motivated even if you're just doing little things, but consistently over time. Okay, now in today's lesson, like I said, it's like the ultimate lesson on listening comprehension and entrepreneurship and, business ownership and motivation and all of that. So you're going to be learning a lot. Now, if you want to, let's say, really learn and remember the things that you're learning in today's lesson, the best way is to be active with it. For example, taking a quiz on the things that you're learning. And if you go over to my blog, which the link is down below the video, I've got quizzes and written lessons for you to help you remember and really learn what you're going to learn throughout this big ultimate lesson. So definitely watch the video and then go test yourself with that quiz over on my blog. All right, let's get into the next lesson. Now, if, like me, you run a business and you have to do lots of different things, here's something that you probably already know. If you try to focus on too many things at once, well, you don't really make any progress on any of them. So how do you know what to focus on? How can you just simplify your life? Well, we'll talk about all of that in this next video lesson. Today, we're going to watch a TED Talk together, and it's called How to Gain Control of Your Free Time by Laura Vanderkam. And, do you ever wish that you could gain control or, take control of your free time or just your time so that you have free time and, maybe spend time doing more of the things that you really enjoy? It's something that I find is like a constant challenge also because with running a business, having a personal life and all of that. Yeah, the struggle is real, as we say in English. So I enjoyed making this lesson for you because I learned a lot as well. Do you think that somebody who writes a book about time management is always on time?
When people find out I write about time management, they assume two things. One is that I'm always on time. I was once late to my own speech on time management.
One thing that I love about this video is that they don't focus on like weird hacks on how to find tiny moments of time in your day, like cooking your food a few minutes less, or recording your favorite show on the television so that you can skip through all of the commercials.
You know another way to find 32 minutes to exercise? Don't watch 2 hours of TV a day, right?
So is spending 2 minutes less time to cook your food or watching 5 minutes less of commercials, like, is that really gonna help? Can we save time by being faster and more efficient? Well, not according to Vanderkam.
We don't build the lives we want by saving time. We build the lives we want, and then time saves itself.
And if you think about it, we can find time for the really important things, for our priorities. For example, in the TED Talk, there was this one woman, her water heater broke, and so she changed her entire schedule to find the time to solve that problem.
And so the key to time management is treating our priorities as the equivalent of that broken water heater. So how do we do that? How do we treat our priorities as the equivalent of that broken water heater? Well, first we need to figure out what they are.
In other words, you have to treat things like they're emergencies so that you find the time to act on them now. And maybe that means, first of all, figuring out or thinking about and deciding what your priorities really are. And now, can you imagine doing a performance review for yourself? You know, when you look back at the year and everything that you did and you decide what you did well and what you need to improve. Okay, classic exercise in pretty much any company. But what if you imagined a performance review today for next year? Well, think about that.
So I want you to pretend it's the end of next year. You're giving yourself a performance review, and it has been an absolutely amazing year for you professionally. What 3 to 5 things did you do that made it so amazing? So you can write next year's performance review now.
What does your amazing year look like next year? Can you come up with a few goals that you want to accomplish?
And now we need to break these down into doable steps.
And maybe now make your goals smaller and easy to do today.
And then, this is key. We treat our priorities as the equivalent of that broken water heater by putting them into our schedules first. And we do this by thinking through our weeks before we are in them.
And what if you tried, like really tried the advice from this TED Talk? Like, can you find 15 minutes in your schedule, maybe this week or maybe next week, to really take the time to do something that's gonna help you move closer to your goal? For example, if your goal is to better understand native speakers, what can you do 15 minutes a day very soon? You can put it in your calendar and you can do it. I'll give you a hint. There's a lot of things on Business English with Christina that you can use for that. And you think that 15 minutes it's too small to actually make any difference? Well,
but small moments can have great power. You can use your bits of time for bits of joy. Maybe it's choosing to read something wonderful on the bus on the way to work. It's about looking at the whole of one's time and seeing where the good stuff can go. I truly believe this. There is time. Even if we are busy, we have time for what matters. And when we focus on what matters, we can build the lives we want in the time we've got.
Now, sometimes we think that if we want to make a big change in our life, we have to take big action. And, that can be really scary and intimidating. And that means that we maybe don't take any action at all. But what if real change starts with something very small, something tiny? Let's learn more about this concept of tiny habits, atomic habits, with this video lesson from James Clear. And James Clear, it's one of my favorite authors. Like, hold on, I've got this book that I definitely recommend for you. I don't know if you can see that with the light. There we go. Atomic Habits, definitely a book that I recommend for anyone who is trying to get in place like habits and routines, for example, for learning English. Check that book out. And before you check the book out, check out this video lesson. You know, having just a little help can make a big difference in how much you understand and learn when you watch real life videos in English, like videos created for native speakers. So today I want to help you to understand a video that I really like to help you get some interesting expressions from a video that you can find right here on YouTube, and it's by James Clear. Like I said, he's one of my favorite authors because of his book. There it is over there. Atomic Habits, which I definitely recommend if you can read books in English. Now, you might be interested in James Clear if you're interested in reaching your business goals or really improving any area in your life where you need good habits to succeed, like learning English, for example. So the big idea from his video that we're going to talk about today is if you can change your habits, you can change your life.
And so if you can change your habits, you can change your life.
Early in the video, James Clear talks about what would happen if you were able to improve by 1% each day.
If you were able to improve by 1% each day for an entire year,
and that means in some area of your life, you make some tiny change. Maybe you would learn some new expressions that make you just 1% better in English. But then you would do that for each day for an entire year. Because he also talks about all of these small changes adding up, as we would say in English. And he says,
and those gains compound, you would end up 37 times better at the end of the year.
If those gains compound, you would end up 37 times better at the end of the year. Now, if you work in finance or you just have a bank account with interest, you probably already know about compounding gains. Or basically, it's earning interest on your interest. And that means that when you start now and you keep going, the change at the end is much bigger than you might expect. And then just notice how he says the same thing in plain English.
The small habits and little choices are transforming us every day already.
Small habits and little choices are transforming us every day already. You know, since I'm a neurolanguage coach and a business owner, I love this idea that starting small and simple just to get that new habit is great, and then being consistent about it is what's going to make that big change. And, you know, so many of the people that I've worked with to improve their English, they've put these things in place for their own English practice and, you know, made bigger changes than they thought possible just by starting small and simple and easy. Because often getting started, it's the hardest part. Speaking of that sort of topic of motivation and getting started, on the topic of motivation, James Clear says,
many people think that they lack motivation when what they really lack is clarity.
Many people think they lack motivation when what they really lack is clarity. In this case, if you lack motivation, it means you don't have enough motivation. But what does it mean to lack clarity? It means to not have a good mental image or a good understanding of the real problem. And one of the big problems that James Clear points out is in the video is when you don't have a plan for starting your new habit. which simply means that you don't really know, you haven't decided how you're going to reach your goal. You've got the goal, but you don't know what to do next. And he talks about the importance of having a plan when he says,
but instead you can take the decision making out of it by explicitly stating when, where, and how you will implement the habit.
You can take the decision making out of it by explicitly stating when, where, and how you will implement the habit. Here, to take the decision making out of something, it means that you remove the need to make any choice about your new habit. And when you don't have to choose, it's easier to act. I've signed up for a running plan program because it means I don't have to think about what I need to do. I just have to check the app, see what the coach tells me to do, and I go and do it. And I promise you, it makes my life so much easier. And more importantly, it makes it easier to stick with the plan, and that helps you reach your goals. Now, going back to James Clear, he said explicitly stating something. So when you explicitly state something, it just means that you say or you write exactly what you mean so that there's no confusion, no ambiguity. It's just very clear. And to implement a habit, it simply means to start your new habit, to put it in place. You could also say to implement a plan, to take an idea and then to put it into action. And I just, think about it for a minute. Is there a habit that you would like to implement that could change your life? Okay, so you're convinced? Well, that was really one of the most popular breakdown videos that I made over the past year. And we did a part 1, which you just watched, but here comes part 2 of that video. Now, as I said, this is part 2 from the little series that we started last week, all about taking that video from one of my favorite authors, James Clear. He's the author of Atomic Habits. It's you see a book right there. There's my cat. There's the book. It's a book that I highly recommend for you if you can read in English. So if you missed the video from last week, I definitely recommend that you go back and watch part 1 of this little 2-part series, just so you kind of know what we're talking about. It'll make this video a lot more useful and enjoyable. All right, so picking up where we left off. Lastly, that's a lot of phrasal verbs. It means starting in the place that we stopped the last time. We're going to talk about changing your environment to change your habits. Thankfully, we don't have to be victims of our environment. We can also be the architect of our environment. And that means, creating a space where it's easy to make the decisions that make it easy to make the changes that you want in your life so that you can build those good habits and reach your goals. Now, just to give you a concrete example that I'm sure you maybe are familiar with, if you're trying to eat healthy food because you want to be healthier, maybe you want to lose weight, you want to change your eating habits, but then someone brings over a box of cookies for you and they put it in your kitchen. Well, that makes it hard to change your eating habits because those cookies are there and they're so easy to just grab one and put it in your mouth. But if you just don't have any cookies in your house, you only have, carrots, it makes it easier to eat healthier because that's all you have in the house.
Thankfully, you don't have to be the victim of your environment. You can also be the architect of it. You can decide to design something to make your good behaviors easier and your bad behaviors harder.
As James Clear points out in his video, you don't have to be the victim of your environment. You can also be the architect of it. Like I said, you decide how your environment helps you or prevents you from building those new habits. And he also says, you can decide to design something to make your good behaviors easier and your bad behaviors harder.
So, when it comes to habits, If you want to practice your guitar more frequently, put it right in the middle of your living room so you run across it all the time. If you want to read more, when you make your bed in the morning, take the book you want to read, put it on top of the pillow. When you come back that night, pick it up, read a few pages, go to sleep.
Then another idea from his video is focusing on starting, not focusing on finishing. You know, a lot of times we think about the goal, the objective, the thing that we want to get, and it seems like so much work. You know, it takes a long time to get to that goal, and you know, that's the thing that discourages us because we see all the work we have to do, all the time it's going to take, you know, all that effort, the difficulties, and you know, we maybe just don't really do it as well as we would like to because it seems like such a big challenge. But James Clear talks about not focusing on the end result, but focusing on just starting. And one thing that he says is
You should optimize for the starting line, not the finish line.
you should optimize for the starting line, not the finish line. In other words, you know, put your effort into getting started on that new habit. Do the best that you can at just starting. Like I said, even if it's something super tiny, very, you know, just very, very, very small, but just focus on getting started, starting to get that habit, and then you can improve on it from there. And really doing that consistently, that is the best way that I've found to reach your goals.
If you can optimize for the starting line and make it as easy as possible to get started and get your reps in, often the outcomes just come as a natural result.
And as I always say, if you don't use it, you lose it. So here's how you can use a little bit of English after watching this video. In the comments below, I would love for you to share with me something that you learned in this video, something that you found inspiring, maybe, you know, a lesson, a tip, whatever you found inspiring in today's lesson, please share it with us in the comments below. And if this lesson was helpful for you, I would love to know. And there are 3 ways that you can tell me. First, go on and give this video a thumbs up on YouTube and subscribe to my channel so that I can continue making business English lessons for you. Second thing, head over to my blog and take the quiz that goes with this lesson. And while you're there, sign up for my newsletter so that I can send you these lessons and some extra bonuses every Tuesday, generally. And the final thing is to continue learning with me with this lesson all about some advanced business English tips for using English at work. And of course, thank you so much for improving yourself, improving your English and your business, all of that with me and Business English with Christina. And I'll see you next time.